Very good morning, and this is Jagdish Perry from EEE Department, Amit University. I am here to present the working principle of some basic electrical machines. And these are the outline of my presentation. And first one is the law of electromagnetic induction and Fleming's left and right hand rule. And principle of a DC rotating machines comes under a DC generator and then a single phase transformer. Finally, we'll see a single phase induction motor. First, let us see some basic laws which is applicable for any machine, any electrical machines. Let us say a law of electromagnetic inductions. We know this is the basic law, this is the basic principle of each and every machine's working. And the first law, it consists of two laws, Faraday's first law and second law. So Faraday's first law is nothing but whenever a conductor cuts a magnetic field, an EMF is induced. That is called Faraday's first law. Second law is the magnitude of that particular induced EMF which is produced is directly proportional to the change of flux. We can say E is directly proportional to d phi by dt. And next law is a Fleming's left hand rule. The Fleming's left hand rule in the sense, the Fleming says that the magnetic flux which is produced with the help of the conductor is nothing but is the working principle of Fleming's left hand rule. If you take your left hand, which means the middle finger, the thumb, middle and forefinger, the middle finger indicates the direction of force. The middle finger indicates the direction of current, and the forefinger indicates the magnetic field, and the thumb indicates the force. Okay, what he is telling is the thumb finger indicates the direction of force, where my thumb indicates the direction of force and my middle finger indicates the direction of current, middle finger, then the forefinger indicates the magnetic field. Okay, this is the Fleming's left hand rule. If I consider on a conductor which is inside, in between this finger, that is the direction of current, force and the magnetic field. This replaced by the Fleming's left hand rule. And same wise of Fleming's right hand rule. If you take your right hand rule, that is thumb, forefinger and middle finger, the thumb indicates the motion and the forefinger indicates the field magnet and the middle finger indicates the direction of current. This is my Fleming's right hand rule. And let us see some basic principle of a DC machine. We know what is machine, right? What is machine? Machine is nothing but it's an electromechanical device which convert one form of energy into another. Okay, so some basic principle of DC rotating machines. The machine is classified into two. One is a DC machine and AC machines. We know in DC machines, these DC generator and motors are the very basic machines which is available. Comes under AC, we have induction motors, alternators, etc. So in this we will see what is a DC generator. So first of all, we should know what is a generator. Generator is an electrical machines which convert mechanical energy into an electrical energy. The input of a generator is a mechanical and finally we will get the output is an electrical one. So let us take a DC motor. The DC motor is nothing but it's an electrical machine which convert electrical energy into the mechanical, which means the vice versa of generator, which convert the electrical energy into a mechanical. So we know all electrical machines are based upon the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. He is the father of the electrical machines. So every machine is working under the basic principle of Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Let us see some overview of a DC machines. So a machine is an electromechanical energy conversion device which converts the form of energy. The form of energy may be electrical to mechanical or mechanical to electrical. So depending upon the working of the machine, so my conversion device may be named as whether it is a generator or motor. So this is the basic. If you see the generator, it will be like this. This is the outpower of a DC generator. So this is the overview of a DC current machines. In this we can see some stator. Some stator is always there. So we know the basic part of a DC generator is one is the stator and the rotor. So this is the stator and have some rotor which is inbuilt with my shaft, and finally I have some end rings. So this is the basic outlook of a DC generator. If you see a DC generator in outlook, it will be like this. So let's see what is a DC generator. So it is a machine that converts a mechanical energy into electrical energy. The energy may be a voltage or current by using the principle of a magnetic induction, which means the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So this is the construction diagram. I will explain in later how it's working. So this is a 4-pole DC generator. If you see a DC generator, it is like this. Actually, this is a 4-pole machine. So how I can see this 4-pole in the sense I have the north and south pole. I have the 4 poles, right? So depends upon the magnets which we are using. So we can see how many poles of this machine. And finally, I have my field coils and I have my commutator along with my brushes, and I have my stator and I have my armature winding, and this is my armature. So this is the working principle of DC machine. So I already told I have some magnet which means a north and south pole, and this yellow color indicates the conductor, I can say the armature. Okay, so this round box is nothing but my commutator, and along with this rectangular box is my brushes. Finally, I have connected some battery from these brushes. Okay, let us consider this conductor is rotating. Let us imagine this conductor is rotating. How my EMF is generated in my generator, which means the DC generator. How my EMF is induced. You see this diagram. So this video shows that how my EMF is generated in my DC generators. Let us imagine. So this black color is nothing but my conductor, which is a rotating in part. We know, right? The stator is a stationary one in a machine, and my rotor is my rotating one, right? Let us consider this black color. This rotating part is my armature. I am placing this conductor in between my north and south pole. This yellow color shows that the magnetic field. We know that the opposite poles attracts each other. So magnetic field will create, right? So this yellow color indicates the magnetic field, and this conductor is rotating. This green color indicates my direction of force. Direction of force. So according to Fleming's left hand rule, this is the principle. So what is the Fleming's left hand rule? The thumb indicates the direction of current, and the forefinger indicates the direction of magnetic field, and the middle finger indicates the direction of force. So according to the Fleming's left hand rule, this is the working principle. This yellow color indicates the magnetic field, which is in forefinger, and the green color indicates the force motion, which is in yellow color, and the current will flows, that is middle finger, right? So how EMF is generated actually? So my conductor is rotating, as well as the magnetic field is flowing from north to south, which is denoted in yellow colors. So my armature is rotating. Let us consider once it stops. If you see that my magnetic field and my conductor lines are both in perpendicular, then my EMF is induced. Perpendicular. If both are in same lines, there is no EMF induced. If both are in perpendicular, which means my magnetic field will be like this and my conductor will be like this, then it is right angles to this. So in these cases, my EMF is generated. So if both are in same lines, there is no EMF is generated. So this is the basic principle of any generator or motor. So this is the working principle of DC generator. So we know according to Faraday's law of electromagnetic inductions, which means the first law, whenever the conductor cuts the magnetic field, my EMF is induced. So in this diagram, whenever the conductor cuts my magnetic lines, which means that yellow lines, my EMF is induced. My EMF is, that is according to Faraday's law. Second is the conductor further connected to an external resistance R, therefore the current I flows through the coil. Then the direction of current is marked on the coil sides. Now the second action starts, that is the current carrying coil or conductor is placed in a magnetic field, and hence the conductor will experience a force or torque. We'll see some basic parts of a DC generator. If you take DC generator, we know the armature, which means the armature and field winding, field magnet frame or yoke, armature windings, armature core, commutator, brushes, bearing, shaft, brush holders. These are some basic parts of a DC generator. We will see one by one. The field magnet frame or yoke, that is nothing but the outer frame of the machine. This will provide in two cases. One is the mechanical support for the poles, and also it prevents dust. It prevents from the dust, and also from some damages it prevents, and also it provides a passage for the magnetic flux which is produced by the poles. Then this is the armature core, which is normally it's a rotating part in a machine and it is a cylindrical in shape. The main purpose of this armature core is it provides a path of low reluctance to the magnetic flux and also it houses the armature conductor. For the purpose the armature core is. Then the commutator. The main function of this commutator is acts like a rectifier. So we know what is rectifier, right? It is convert my AC into a DC, right? Normally this is a DC generator. We know how it working under a DC supply. Is it working in DC supply? No. The DC generator is normally working in AC. We are giving only the AC, but how it gives some DC current because of this commutator. So the main principle of this commutator is to convert the AC current, whatever we are converting, whatever we are producing, that will convert into a DC supply, right? That is the main function of commutator is to collection of current from the armature. Collection of current, whatever the current we are getting from the armature, which means the rotating part, that is rectify into a AC, rectify the AC into a DC. This is the normal the construction of a commutator. And let us take the brushes. The brushes is nothing but without brushes there is no commutators. The brushes, the function of brushes is to collect the current from the commutator. Whatever the current is converted from the commutator, which is collected from the brushes, and finally that will send it to the battery or load, what that may be. So finally we are getting a DC, right? Finally we are getting some DC supply, some DC power we are getting with the help of these brushes. So normally this brushes is made up of a carbon and it looks rectangular in shape. That we already seen in the video, right? Then shaft, we know the material of the shaft is a mild steel. It is used to transfer the mechanical power from or to the machine, right? And this is a rotating part. So normally if you take a machine, the rotating parts are the armature, conductor, these are mounted to the shaft. So if the armature and commutators are rotating, then automatically my shaft will be rotated. So the bearings, these are supported in end covers because of reliability. Ball bearings where we are normally using these ball bearings. This is a basic principle of generator. So whenever the conductor is moved within a magnetic field in such a way that the conductor cuts across a magnetic lines of fluxes, so my voltage is generated. So I am generated some voltage, right? How the voltage is depends upon how much amount is voltage, how much amount is generated, that depends upon the following criteria. The first one is the strength of the magnetic field. Okay, how the magnetic field will be depends upon that only I can generate the more number of voltages, right? So the strength of the magnetic field, then the angle at which the conductor cuts my magnetic field, that is very important, right? The angle at which my conductor cuts the magnetic field. Then it is a conductor, it is cuts at a perpendicular, then I will get a perfect EMF, right? Perfect EMF. Then the speed at which the conductor is moved, that is also one criteria. How much my conductor is rotated or moved, depends upon that I can generate the voltages. The last one is the length of the conductor with the magnetic field. The length of the conductor is also a major role for generating the voltages. So I already told my principle of generation, which means that the DC generator is working under the principle of Fleming's left-hand rule, right? Let's just see some types of DC generator. So normally we have two types of DC generators. One is a self-excited DC generator and a separately excited DC generator. So under this self we have series generator, shunt generator and compound generator. We will see one by one. The first is a separately excited DC generator. In the name itself we can say separately. So normally we know if you take some generator, we have some field winding and some armature winding. So depends upon the arrangement of these two, we can divide into two. One is series, shunt and compound. So first we will see the separately excited. In the sense, here we have some RF. RF is nothing but my field resistance and my RA is nothing but my armature resistance. So these are the generator whose field windings are excited from some external sources of supply. So in these cases we have to give some external supply to the field winding. That is called a separately excited. We are saying that separately we have to give some supply to this generator. That is called separately excited. Self-excited in the sense, self itself by its own they will supply some voltages. In the diagram you can see, right? There is no separate supply we are giving to the self. Okay, so these are the generator whose field winding is energized by the current supplied by their own armature. Supplied by their own armature. We do not give any separate supply to this self-excited generator. Next, under this self-excited we have DC series, shunt and compound generator. So this is the series generator. We know what is series, right? Something which is connected with end to end, and then it is called as series. So here also we are connecting our armature winding and the field winding in series, then it is called a DC series generator. Here I am connected my armature and my field are in series, then it is called a series generator. The main application of this is for electroplating we are using this DC generator, and for battery charging for excitation of alternator we are giving this DC generator. Next, DC shunt. DC shunt, the field coils are wound with a large number of fine wires which are connected in parallel with the armature. Here parallel, shunt in the sense both are connected in parallel, which means the shunt, field winding and the armature winding are connected in parallel, then it is called a parallel DC shunt generator. The application is used as a booster and used for supply to arc lamps. We can go for this DC shunt generator. Then the compound is nothing but the combination of series and the shunt generator. We know what is series? Both the field and the armature are connected in series. Then the shunt is nothing but both are connected in parallel. If you go for a compound generator, this is the combination of series and parallel. We can see it's a series and as well as the parallel connection of series, field and armature winding. Yeah. Next, that's all about the working principle of a DC generator, which means the basic principle of DC generator. If you well aware about this DC generator, we can go for any machines like induction motors, alternator, whatever may be. But this is the working principle, how my EMF is generated. That's all I see. So now we will see some single phase transformer. We know transformer is a very important equipment, very important mission, right, in a power system. So we will see what is the working principle of a transformer. So what is a transformer? Transformer is a static device which transfer electric power from one circuit to another without changing its frequency. So transformer is a static device in the sense that there is no rotating part in transformer, it is a static device. There is no moving part in transformer, and also which transfers electric power. Transformer is not a converting device, it is a transfer power from one circuit to another. Just is transfer the power, whatever the power we are getting, that will transfer into the another circuit, but the condition is without changing its frequency. That is called a transformer. Right? This is the some systematic diagram of a single phase transformer. If you take some transformer, the main parts is a winding, that is a primary winding and secondary winding. Here I have some primary, there I have some secondary. In primary I am connecting my input, whatever the input supply we are giving, and finally I am getting some load from my secondary. So the primary is connected to the incoming power supply and the secondary is connected to the load. So we know the transformer is one of the important components of any power system. Without transformer there is no power generation, transmission and distribution, right? So one part of transformer is associated with my electrical domain, which means the input. The primary is connected with my input, whatever the input we are giving, and my another part of the transformer is associated with the magnetic domain, whatever the output we are getting from the secondary. So the energy flows across the domain from electrical to magnetic and magnetic to electrical domain. So there is no connection between, that is the one main beauty is that there is no connection between this primary and secondary winding. Then how it transfers the powers to the secondary is. The construction details. In all type of transformer the core is constructed in transformer sheet steel. If you take any transformer, some core is laminated. Okay, the main function of this core is to minimize the eddy current losses. If you take any transformers, we have some losses. If you want to reduce that, we have to laminate it. Okay. Then the thickness of the laminations varies from 0.35 mm for a frequency of 50 Hz to 0.5 mm for a frequency of 25 Hz. So the laminating the core is a major part in a transformer. If you laminate it properly, then we can reduce the eddy current losses as much as possible. So construction wise, the transformers are divided into two. One is the core type and another one is the shell type. The core type is nothing but the winding surrounds the considerable part of the core. The core is surrounded by my windings. But in shell type, the core surrounds a considerable part of the winding. That is the difference. If you understand these two, then it is very easy. But normally in nowadays we are using this core type transformers nowadays, right? So this is the basic outlook of a transformer. If you take some transformer, it will be like this. The constructional view. This is the windings, which means the primary winding. I can say N1, and my N2 is my secondary windings. As I told before, my secondary windings are connected in my load, and my primary windings is connected in supply, the input supply. And normally the laminated core will be here, and the phi of t is nothing but the flux, which is flowing in my inside the transformer. And one beauty is there is no connection between this and this. There is no connection between this N1 and N2. Then how it's working? How it's working? So we have two windings, one is primary and secondary. From primary we have two electrical parameters, whether we are giving voltage and current. From secondary we have two, one is ES and IS, which means the secondary voltage and the secondary current. Some symbols we are using in transformer. NP is nothing but the number of turns in the primary, NS is the number of turns in the secondary, EP is the voltage of the primary, ES is the voltage of secondary, IP is the current of a primary, IS is the current in the secondary. These are some basic symbols that we are using in our transformers. Losses. So we know a transformer is an electrical component which is very useful in a power system. Okay, if you take any machines, if you take any electrical device, this losses is surely applicable, right? Without losses, there is no machines, right? Losses. So normally, if you take any ideal transformer, normally there is no losses occur, but practically we have some losses. We can, let us take transformer. We have two major losses. One is core losses and copper losses. Core losses. We are using some core, right? So how to reduce these core losses? As I told before, if you laminate the core properly, then you can eliminate these core losses easily. Then copper losses, we are using some windings, right? In primary we have some windings, in secondary we have some windings. The windings is made up of copper, so surely you will get some copper losses in the form of heat. In the form of heat, so copper losses will be more. So in practical transformer, the power output is equal to the power input, then we will get the efficiency. If you calculate the efficiency of this, we know the efficiency equal to output by input, right? Next, some types of transformer. So basically the transformers divided into three with the types of levels. It is divided into three. One is step up transformer, step down and isolation transformer. Step up is nothing but my primary winding is less than my secondary winding. My primary winding is less than compared to my secondary. Sorry, my primary winding is less when compared to the secondary winding, which means the secondary windings has more windings, then it is called a step up. Then my primary winding is greater than my secondary, then it is called step down. If both are equal, then it is an isolation transformer. We will see how it is. So this is the construction. This thing is circle for a step up, which means my secondary, which is in violet color, which is a greater windings, then it is my orange color primary. Then it is called the step up. This is the step down. See, my orange is greater than my violet, which is the windings are less when compared to secondary. Then it is called my step down. Some transformer classifications, right? So in terms of number of windings, we know three types. One is conventional transformers, which we are seeing now, that is a two windings, right? Then we have some auto transformer, it consists of only one winding. Other than we have more than two windings. This is depends upon the number of windings. Depends upon the phases. We have single phase transformer and we have three phase transformer. Depends on the voltage level at which the winding is operated. We have step up, step down and isolation transformer. So this is the efficiency of transformer. How to find out the efficiency, right? So we want to know how much efficiency the machine is giving, right? So how can I find out the efficiency of a particular transformer? We know if you take some transformer, we have core losses, we have copper losses, and we are giving some input. Finally, we are getting some output. So in practical transformer, we have seen two types of losses. One is core and copper losses. So these losses are wasted as a heat and temperature of the transformer rises. So for finding the efficiency of transformer, we have the output power and we have some losses, which is the core and copper losses, and we have some input. So if you want to find out the efficiency of transformer, the formula for finding is a power output by power input. The power output in the sense we are getting some output that is with losses, right? So how much input we are giving, that is power input minus what are the losses. If you eliminate the losses divided by my power input, I am getting my efficiency. So normally for transformer we are getting 0.9 to 0.99% of efficiency we are normally getting. Then we will see some advantages and disadvantages. So some advantages of transformer is savings in conductor material and cost. We are not using any conductor here. Okay, we are not using any moving parts here. This is a stationary one, and cost wise is very less. Then power loss is reduced, so the efficiency will be more. Then manufacturing cost is also less. Can be used for obtaining variable voltage supplies. So we have some disadvantages also. What is the disadvantages? If any breaks occur in a secondary winding, the full voltage flows from the primary side to the load. If any fault occur in the secondary, then the full voltage which we are giving from the input is directly goes to the output. The next machine, the last machine is single phase induction motor. So we know what is induction motor. So we know the working principle of a machine, right? We know what is a machine. So what is the conversion principle of a motor is nothing but it's convert electrical energy into mechanical energy. So the output is a mechanical here. So normally an induction or asynchronous motor is an AC electric motor in which the electric current is in the rotor need to produce torque. Is obtained by electromagnetic induction. So this also comes under the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. And some types of single phase induction motor is normally classified into two. One is a single phase synchronous motor and second one is a commutator motors. So this is the construction view of an induction motor. If you take induction, the basic parts is the stator and the rotor. So construction details, like any other electrical motors, the asynchronous motor have two main parts. There be no stator and rotor. The stator is nothing but a stationary one and the rotor is a rotating one. So stator, its name indicates a stator is a stationary part of induction motor. So normally we are giving supply to the stator only. We are giving supply to the stator. So I am getting some output from the rotor. The rotor is a rotating part of induction motor. So the rotor is connected to the mechanical load through the shaft. So normally the rotor which we are using is a squirrel cage induction motor. So normally the rotor is consists of two. One is a slip ring induction motor and squirrel cage induction motor. Here we are end rings with the ends. The rotor ends are end rings. Then it is called like a cage. Then it is called the name as squirrel cage induction motor. Then stator. The stator of a single phase is laminated stamping to reduce eddy current losses. If you laminate the stator, then we can reduce the eddy current losses. Then the stator winding is given to a single phase AC supply. A magnetic field is produced and the motor rotates at a speed slightly less than the synchronous speed. So we can say if you want to find out the speed of a motor, then we can go for this. N is equal to 120 F by P. My Ns is nothing but my synchronous speed, how much my speed is rotating, and my 120 F is nothing but the frequency and P is nothing but the poles. The number of poles the machine is made of. If you substitute this, we will get the synchronous speed, how much my motor is rotating. So this is the rotor. The rotor is a cylindrical in shape and has slots all over its face. So the squirrel cage rotor we are normally using, which consists of aluminum, brass or a copper bars. Then the rotor conductors are permanently shorted by a copper or aluminum rings called the end rings. So in order to provide a mechanical strength, these rotor conductors are branched to the end rings and hence a form of some complete closed circuit you will get like a cage. So that is the reasons we are getting, we are naming it as a squirrel cage induction motor. So in this induction motor, we have some the absence of slip rings, brushes and commutators. There is no commutator and there is no brushes and there is no slip rings in induction motor. That is the reason this is very simple and robust. The working principle, normally we are giving some input supply to the stator side. So we are getting some magnetic, we are getting some current which is alternating current, it starts flowing inside the stator. Then this alternating current produces some alternating flux called the main flux. This flux also links with the rotor conductor and hence cuts the rotor conductor. So according to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, EMF gets induced in the rotor. This is how the induction motor is working. So as the rotor circuit is closed one, so the current starts flows from the rotor, then this current is called a rotor current. So this rotor current produces its own flux called a rotor flux. Since this flux is produced due to the induction principle, so the motor working on this principle got its name as an induction motor. So these are the some types of induction motor. So we have slip phase induction motor, capacitor start induction motor, capacitor start, capacitor run induction motor, and shaded pole induction motor. So there are some advantages of induction motor. So induction motor is normally a simple and robust one because we don't have any commutator brushes and slip rings. So the cost wise is less and very simple and robust. So then induction motors is cheaper in cost due to the access of brushes, commutator and slip rings. There are maintenance free because there is no commutator and brushes because this needs a very maintenance. So we have to maintain it properly. So here there is an absence of commutator and brushes, so the maintenance is free. Unlike DC motor and synchronous motor due to the absence of brushes and slip rings. So induction motor can be operated in polluted and explosive environment and do not have brushes which can cause sparks. And normally the brushes will causes the spark, but here there is absence of brushes, so this is a spark free induction motor. And finally we have some disadvantages. One of the main disadvantages is the speed control. The speed control is difficult because here the fine speed application DC motors are used in place of induction motor. If you want to control something with a fine speed, then we can go for induction motor instead of this induction because here the speed control is very difficult. For that we have different methods of speed control which we are normally using. Right? Thank you.